Yes, you're here. I'm here. We're here, and we're excited because this is Improv on and off the topic. And I am Shannon Stott, your virtual tour guide, your journey guide, one of your journey guides for this show. We have two journey guides. Usually, Emily isn't considered a journey guide. She's usually considered the scientist, and she gets double billed on this show.
Yeah, I have two jobs here. It's like, so I get twice the pay, right? So
It's true. It's true. You do. It's so good.
well,
So,
hi.
hi. How are you?
Normally, behind the scenes information, normally Shannon and I have like 15 minutes to like catch up before everything. But I just got here from a work call. So
So
let's
we might need this time just like how are you, Emily? How are you?
I am well. Let me welcome to the Curiosity Month, where we are being curious about our community. So let's demonstrate our curiosity.
Yes, by being curious about each other.
By being curious about each other. I'm pretty well. I have been feeling a little under the weather, but that's all right. I'm also packing to go out of town, so I've just got some chaos happening in my house, but it is have a to-do list, trying to slowly work my way through it, doing laundry, getting through. How about you? How are you doing?
I am hearing you and supporting you because I'm on the same laundry train. The laundry train has no stops.
Oh my gosh. It goes forever. Never ends.
It never ends. And then at the same time, what else is happening? We're like just joy, like actual joy, and getting used to saying things like I'm doing well, like getting right, and like with like confidence and bravado, because we really can get into a what do you call it, like sort of routine of saying, oh, it's sort of fine, or but when
okay, I'm okay.
right, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good in general.
Yeah, things are good. Feel like you and I both are doing things that we care about right now.
Yeah,
so feeling good.
it is the whole like you're doing something you care about, and even though you care about it a lot, it's hard. Oof, that's a real thing.
Yeah, it's hard, but at least it's better than drudgery.
Yes, that's the thing. It's the thing. As we're talking about, let's just jump right in. Before we jump completely in, what do you care about in the studio audience, like in the chat? What's going on in your life? What's happening? We like to hear about it. What are you curious about these days? All right, put that in the chat.
I'm curious about what you're curious about, everyone.
I know we're curious about you. We're curious about you. I am learning about being curious, like as far as delving into new things. When you sort of last week we were talking about this like new lifestyle sort of that I am trying to dive into, being more outside, going on bike rides, those types of things. And I am noticing that in order to change your life, however it is, whatever change you're trying to make, you have to be curious enough to like delve into the nuances of those like new communities. I did it.
Yes. Yeah, you got to be able to be willing to explore all of the things. What we talked about last week was and being able to explore without judgment, right? Being able to know like this could go wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm exploring it anyway. So have you gotten out more on your bike this week?
Well, I've gotten out more. In fact, not only have I gotten out more, but I have not easily, but what do you call it? I've learned to like pack the right things, have the right things at my disposal, those types of things. And in this idea of like delving in and the question, like this might not work out, like you're being brave. Just delving into the community of people who live out of their cars, and do this for a living, or bike ride or adventure. And those communities are not ones that I have ever dived into. So there's a really, as far as like how my life and our and our topics are really coinciding, it's been a really interesting journey, just because I haven't, it's a completely different world over there. People who are like, I can survive outside of my air conditioning, right?
Yeah, and have everything with them at the same time.
Yeah.
I lived that life, not entirely. I lived out of my car in the sense that like I would wake up in the morning and then not come home until like midnight every day. And so I still have remnants of that, where like my backpack has extra snacks and deodorant and little like chapsticks and nasal sprays and like rando things. Like my whole life is inside my backpack. I get it. The weird things that you learn to pack and have on you and just become like your habits. It's fascinating.
I'm gonna take what you just said and I'm gonna like put it right on stage.
All right, let's do it. Let's do the part for like on and off the stage where we like talk about the on the stage.
The on and off the stage, right? Like the on the stage. We talk about toolkits, right? Right? We talk about having all of your things when we're talking about being an improviser, being on stage. We definitely talk about having everything you need with you, and instead of having one thing that you rely on, right? If sometimes you can be the pun guy, pun gal or guy, right? And so you walk on and really the only thing that's in your backpack is puns. And that's what you do. You do puns. But we're talking about exploring. We're talking about being curious. And if you can pack that backpack full of other things, you can start being curious about where a scene can go if you don't use a pun and rather pull out character work or pull out, I don't know, scene painting. That's a feeling, that thing that you're talking about, like off the stage, where you're literally you have everything in your bag. It's like when you are prepared that way, you are prepared for anything that is out there. And and then you can be curious. You can be like, maybe I'll go this way because I have deodorant. I can take a little more time going home or something like that.
Yeah. And it can surprise other people. Be like, I didn't know that you had just the right protein snack in your bag. The number of times I've like met someone who needs a protein snack or an extra tampon or, whatever, and been like, guess what? It's in my bag. And so similarly in our improv bags, like we could be like, this thing that I remembered to think about is exactly right for this situation. This moment of taking a second or enjoying silence or like connecting with my scene partner. Just right for this moment. By the way, I do see that there is a comment from a Shannon. She's preparing a clown show. Ooh, that's very cool. And curious about improv games in a kids show. So think about what's in Shannon's backpack. Wow. Girl, you got to pack that backpack.
Incorporating improv games in a children's show. Yes, there's so many. I wonder, keep talking about that, Shannon. Keep putting it in the chat. Are you looking, what kind of show is this? What kind of improv games? But in general, oh my goodness, it's the most curious people, and you know this, Emily, the most curious people are children, right?
Oh my God. Yes. Yes, I spent so much time around tiny humans, and from the the silent curiosity of just exploring and checking out all the things. And I have a nephew who is 7 months old now, and he just stares at all the things and yells like a pterodactyl. Up to the 6-year-old that I work with, who the other day asked me why my tummy is so big. The answer. I told him because I eat a lot of Taco Bell. And he was like, oh, that sounds good. So like kids, of course, they have no limits and like shame about their curiosity, you know? I wonder, at what point we as adults started developing that like shame and curiosity, right? That like, oh, well, what if like that question doesn't, or that thing doesn't go, ooh, I don't like that. I'm not gonna like that answer. Or I'm not gonna like what I see. Ooh. Uh,
Mhm.
I really admire the way that children just kind of dive into exploring their world, even when they're asking potentially socially inappropriate questions too.
Right? Yeah. And it's hard for us because we are in the space where we're like, that's socially inappropriate. You should not be asking me that or anyone else. Right. But then, like, the fact, if we can let that go and we can come back with a child on the child's level, like, it's because I eat a lot of Taco Bell. Like, ooh, Taco Bell. What do you like about Taco Bell? What's interesting about that, if we take that, like, and delve into community, if it is possible for us to move between feeling shame, right? If we can move through that, we will ask more questions because we don't feel like, oh, that question, like you said, that question obviously will make me feel stupid, right? We can make more assumptions, or we can take more risks, like risks that aren't going to detriment us,
Mhm.
right? But we take those risks, and then other people see us doing those things, and we can build community that way. Not only can we build community, but we can really dive into the community that we're already part of.
Yeah, and build a community that values curiosity and exploration for the sake of
Yes.
curiosity and exploration,
Right.
um, not just because, or like with not it's contingencies isn't the word that I want on it, but like strings attached to the curiosity. Like I'm only gonna be curious if I know it's gonna go well.
Right. Right. That's no risk, right? We're not
That's our
taking
risk.
risk. Shannon is saying, this show is a magic show, but I have 45 minutes to an hour. I'd like to add an improv game or two. Okay, this I'm just gonna give you, and you tell me yours, Emily. But one of my favorite things to do with kids is the like hesitation game.
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
and kind of like fill in the blank, man. Get those kids to fill in your lines. I love it.
Absolutely. That
I
idea, if you don't know how it's played, mostly you're telling a story, right? Once upon a time, there was a boy who loved, and you hesitate, you put your hand out to the audience.
bananas.
Yeah, and then you take the first thing you hear, bananas. That's right. And every day he ate all the bananas he could eat until one day he saw a
Triangle.
triangle. And that triangle was hovering in the sky, whatever it is. But that feeling, that, oh my gosh, when you use a child's suggestion and the laughter, the laughter and the excitement that comes with that is always a favorite, a favorite.
I agree. Any especially like anything where you are. I mean, improv is like letting people influence your
Mhm.
things. And I think any sort of storytelling or like acting, if you have like a variety of things to work with, especially I'm assuming like as a clown, you probably have a lot of props. Like maybe there is a way you could even like, I mean, maybe this might not sound like an improv game, but involving them and helping them make the choices for like what you can do to maybe go a little bit off script might be helpful too. Because part of the joy of like an improv audience, right, is being able to be like, I affected that. I
Yeah.
I did something there, uh,
Yeah.
and that's and their influence on you is where the improvisation comes from. So it doesn't necessarily have to be like a standard scene or a standard story. That anytime you're engaging in that give and take and enjoying the exploration of where they bring you, we're doing
Yeah.
improv.
Yeah, that idea of having the community, in this case the children, right? Having the community influence you, right? All is also what we're talking about when we're talking about curiosity. Because when we, especially as improvisers, when we let go and we let our partners influence the scene, or we let the audience influence the scene, that instead of us like really having an idea, this scene is going to go this way, or I'm really committed to this particular character and I cannot change, or this particular relationship and I cannot change. When we let those things influence us, we are surprised, is what I'm trying to get at, right? We are surprised, and it builds resistance and resilience to change.
Yeah. And learning to go with the flow.
Mm-hmm.
So that when we're off stage.
Right. That is absolutely correct. The thing, so we talked about this explicitly. We said that in our last show that we would explicitly talk about how being curious influences our community, or how it influences our community, how it makes us part of the community. Let's delve deeper into that.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with what we were just talking about, with kind of that like that give and take and exploring with, in improv, we're exploring with an audience. In your community, we're exploring with your community partners. And fun behind the curtain thing for everyone is that Shannon and I and our other science team member, Luke Wallens, sat down this weekend, and we took time to define what we mean when we talk about, what community we want you to think about when we talk about community with you. We specifically want you to keep in mind when you're thinking about like, what community are we talking about? A group of people who you're with, like relationships that you have that's on like the precipice of change, right? Where, you can see a change that you want to make or that you want to help make. And so, that being said, when we're talking about community and curiosity, think about a community that you have that's on the precipice of change. And when we're thinking of curiosity, how can we explore our options and explore trying new things and explore the interactions between you and your other community members in ways that are just for curiosity's sake, not judgment focused, not, afraid of like, oh, what if this goes wrong? What are some ways that we can do that? Does that bring anything for you to mind, Shannon? Any like specific community that you have that you want to like, that you have some curiosity that you could just explore without judgment or fear?
Yeah. Well, not to like always advertise for us, right? But also
advertising our own company and our own shows. Yes.
Right. But the idea of improv actually being able to influence our lives, like the idea of improv games, what the improv values, how we look and move through scenes, how we look at scenes, how we move through them, characters, all of those things. That, to me, and delving into that is really me playing with my community, because we don't see that very often. What we usually are presented with is improv as fun, improv purely for the sake of being funny, right? Or performative. Whereas this is curious for me. Like, how many feathers am I ruffling when I'm giving people like offbeat advice? The two ideas that stand out for me are it's okay to say no, right? We talk about that a lot. Yeah, it's okay to say no, and it's really okay. And then the other part is speaking to people outside of character, right? Stepping out of your actual character on stage, and Shannon talking to Emily so that we can clarify hard topics, difficult, like mistakes that have been made, or even less than that. Just like, hey, are you in a forest? Are you in a bowl of soup, or are you in a forest?
Sure.
And then we can go back in. But that exploring all of that is definitely, you're talking about judgment. Definitely, I feel brave a lot of the time because I do feel judged by bringing those types of things up.
Yeah, but you're also, I've seen you do that. And by the way, I love your kind of like out of character thing. You always have this motion that's like pulling down like a screen. You're like, or like peeking over a wall, like, hi, I'm peeking over this scene and I have a question. but the community that you do this with are people who equally value that, right? During our on and off the shows, when you and Aaron do that, that's the two of you both do this little peaky thing, and you're like, hey, boop, boop, boop. And I think that is an interesting thing for us to be bringing to the improv community at large. Is I think the greater concept is not necessarily like just this action, but the concept of the people behind the characters, the improvisers behind the characters. We at my theater, we use the phrase like puppets and puppeteer. So your characters are like your puppets, and so like we just kind of like take off our puppet for a second. And I think that is a thing that we don't talk about. It's been something we've been hammering pretty hard at our theater, to be like, you are not your puppet, y'all. These are different
entities,
different things, different entities. And so I do think that's a great exploration for us to be having, and being curious about what does that mean about us as a person. What are the consequences of that? Talking about saying no. We've been working on ending a scene, and like ending it if it's not okay. Right? This is me telling all of you other improvisers out there, if you, especially you improvisers who are not cis straight white men, if you are in a situation where you are uncomfortable on that stage, yes and does not automatically mean consent, and you can stop that dang scene.
Get it?
And not everyone agrees with that, but because you are different than your character, you as a person can protect yourself and just be like, I'm out. That's enough for that. Thank you.
Enough of that. Okay. You said in this talk, you said exploration, and this thing that you're talking about, like the idea of it's okay to say no. I love this. Like, hey, we're talking about it. Yes and doesn't always mean consent. Yes and doesn't mean consent. Love it. So with those types of thoughts, we don't have to go into our community thinking that we are changing the community for good. Like it's my way or no way. That's not what we're thinking. The idea, that word that you used was exploration, bringing a new idea to the community. How is the community thinking versus how are you exploring it? How are you questioning it so that the community can be suited not only for everyone else, but for you as well? That's what we're looking for you to feel safe, loved, heard, seen in the community that you're in.
Right. Yeah. Taking the examples we just kind of talked about, even as we're passionate, obviously, about exploring this concept of an improviser as a person, more than just their characters. Even if that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to like storm into every show and be like, okay, this is how we have this circle that we do in the beginning that is a consent circle where we discuss every single thing and how that will help us. And then within the scene, we take time to stop and we do this exact motion and we say, hello, I'm checking in with you. And then we go back like this. And then we do X, Y, Z. Exactly what you're saying in terms of exploring how we do these things and being willing to be like, oh, maybe that methodology is not working, right? Maybe the peek over the window isn't the most effective way to do this. Maybe it's just not peek around the fence. It's not what I mean, but like maybe it's, maybe we find other ways to check in, but not holding so tightly to these particular like methodologies that it's going to like break us and hurt our feelings and be devastating if they don't work.
Absolutely. And on and off the stage, it's the same, because in the moment you're talking about, sometimes what I'm trying to get at is sometimes you are the student, right? And your teacher is telling you, this is how we do it, right? This is how we do it. This is how we've always done it, right? But if you are feeling like that, whatever it is, Doesn't have to be that, whatever it is. Maybe it's the way you play Zoom Schwartz Pavigliano or whatever. If you are feeling somehow there's a check in what you're doing, the curiosity comes in exploring that check, right? And then going to the head of the community and letting them know that you're having a check. It goes back to, we want you to be heard, listened, heard, seen, listened to, loved in your improv group. And then we take that and we make the improv group any community that is off the stage. The curiosity sometimes feels like scary. It feels a little scary, right? Because everyone else in your community or everyone else is going one way or saying that it's okay. And for some reason it's not working for you. That curiosity is like, one, ooh, I'm feeling a check. Two, what is the check? And three, the bravery to actually come against, or at least just bring it up. I take back the come against. It doesn't always have to be a butting heads situation, right? But bringing it up for yourself.
Asking questions in the way that a 6-year-old would, right? You know, asking questions for the sake of, why do we do that thing? Because there's probably, maybe there's like a specific way that the thing has happened, that, you know, that is done that important way. But also there's a possibility that maybe there's a reason that thing happens and why it's done a certain way that could also translate to another modality for the same reason. Do you know what I mean? When I do parent training, for instance, I ask them to think about, like, what's the most important thing about this instruction, right? When we say, hey, it's time to go to the bathroom, the most important thing is we get to the bathroom and urinate on the toilet without accident, right? Everything else in between doesn't matter as long as we get to the toilet without accident. So similarly, so like if someone's like, why do I have to go to the bathroom? Because we don't want you to have an accident. Well, then that means we can walk like a dinosaur to the toilet, right? So similarly, like in a work context, you know, if there's something that's happening at work and you're like, why is it this way? And you figure out what the important, you just ask, like, why is it this way? Maybe the answer that you get is this important thing or important way. But if you have maybe flexibility or creativity to find the same outcome, the same important thing, but maybe a little bit more flexibly, a way that works for you, then maybe it's doable. Maybe it helps that you ask, because now you can come up with a new solution, right? We just lived through this time when all of us worked from home. Most of us worked from home, right? In a situation that was like, people were like, oh, well, we just have to get XYZ done. And now we learned we can do it in our own home offices. The important thing where we needed to get a spreadsheet in, and the flexibility of where that could be.
Yeah. I love this idea, because what it's inspiring is, on stage, this looks like the scene. And if we're like very, very low, not low bar, but the minimum is once upon a time and every day, right? Until one day.
Sure. Yeah. Here's our must-haves. Here's our importance.
Exactly. So we're trying to get there, but how we get there, this part, this circle that you're creating, how we get there, whether it's walking like a dinosaur, quacking like a duck, scene painting, puns, whatever it is flexible. That part's flexible. And then if we take that same thing that you're talking about, and like you said, going to the bathroom, yes. Also creating a workshop, great. Team building, whatever it is, like getting more money for our company, hooray. But how we get there is flexible. And we learn that flexibility in improv.
We do. And that's take an improv class. It's 30, and that's the topic.
That's the top. That's 30 minutes. Take an improv class. We got it. We got there. I love talking about this stuff with you. So last week we said we were going to talk about improv. Improv and community, but we're exploring
curiosity in the community.
Curiosity in the community. we're going to keep exploring curiosity in the community. Last week, we explored a little bit of curiosity in ourselves, curiosity in the community, and probably curiosity specifically between relationships, in different types of relationships, and how we can explore those and build those up. Okay, that's what's going to happen next week. That's what I
the
say.
plan. That's the plan. I'm gonna be on the road next week, so you'll get vacation, Emily, next week.
Oh my gosh, I love vacation, Emily. I want to say before we leave, good luck, Shannon.
Crush it.
Crush
and also,
it.
Hi, Charlotte, in the comments. Hello,
hi, Charlotte. We love you.
We love you very much.
If you're joining us now, that's not live. We love you too.
Very much. All right.
Bye. Oh wait, we hope to see you on and
off the stage. Goodbye.
Bye.